That is the B in the brand. Being bold. Because boldness supports a larger goal that others will care about. Being relevant, which is what the R in brand stands for. Relevance, in line with what you do or you aspire to do, because you must always stay relevant. Being authentic, which is where I started from. And authenticity, of course, is synonymous with how others describe you. That whatever Tawab says, you must know that it is coming from a genuine place and is not just copying somebody and pasting what others are doing. He has created a unique identity for himself. And the N, of course, speaks to being notable. Being notable in terms of being memorable and very easy to understand as a person. And D, of course, differentiated. That thing that separates you. That thing that separates you from others who are similarly situated like you.
Who is wearing so many cars today?
That is what personal branding is all about.
Sorry, sir. Sister Amina Miss Kilo. Sorry, sir. Sister Amina Miss Kilo. Please go on mute. We can hear your session. Please go on mute.
My dear sisters,
You're not yet
brothers
muted,
and sisters, one more time I say
Thank you. Go on, sir. Apologies.
Okay. So being differentiated, that which makes you unique and differentiates you from others, of course, who are in the same space with you. So in creating a personal brand for yourself, and going beyond your resume, you must avoid, for example, I see people on LinkedIn, they keep talking about, generalities like, and they use buzzwords like, I specialize in this. I have experience in this, I have leadership this. I'm skilled in this. I'm passionate about this. I'm an expert in whatever. I'm motivated by this. I'm creative. I'm strategic. I'm successful. These are just buzzwords and their generalities. When I look out to LinkedIn and I'm saying looking for someone to hire, the kind of things that I want to see on LinkedIn is one who puts out a profile in LinkedIn that says, I am, because I am speaks to his professional identity. And the person then says, I am a lawyer and an HR professional who is very adept, in creating workplace processes and policies. That speaks to the professional identity of the individual. Or you say, I am a lawyer, or an HR professional who has helped people, in so and so place to do so and so. Who helps or who has helped speaks to the audience that you have worked with or that you have done something. Or when you say, I do, like I said, I create or I understand how to create workplace policies and processes. You speak to the fact that you can provide unique solutions to people or to things. So if you say, I am Dash, who helps businesses, or individuals to achieve this, or I am Dash, who understands and can do this, you are providing unique solution so that the business can achieve so and so growth. You are speaking to the ability to help businesses to transform and the benefit that businesses will eventually, achieve if you help them to transform. So those are the kind of statements that I look for example, when I'm looking at people's LinkedIn profiles if I want to hire, but not the ones that simply, use generalized buzzwords, like I'm specialized in this, I'm experienced in this, I'm skilled in this, I'm passionate about whatever, I am motivated. Everyone is motivated. So I'm going to leave our conversation here. And I'd like to thank you all once again for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you and to discuss this. I'm sorry I've taken all of 1 hour as against the 45 minutes that you gave me. My very sincere apologies. Thank you again for having me, and thank you for listening to me. I will share the slides, like I said, but I'll be willing to take a few questions from our brothers and sisters on the call. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Please, a round of applause. The emojis, the reactions, all confirm that. It confirmed my own assertion as well that this session has been one that was worth the time. Yes, I know you said that you apologize for taking beyond the 45 minutes, but I'm sure and I know that everyone here appreciates that the extra for you to have even volunteered to take that extra 15 minutes. It means a whole lot. We know how much your time was. If we were to pay you, I'm not sure how much we can afford, but definitely we appreciate your gesture. Thank you so much for that, and I'm sure people appreciate that. Yes, please, before as now we can take questions. If you have questions, if you want, you can drop them on the chat, and for those who are willing, you can signify by raising your hand. They will take. I think I have one already in the in-call message, so I will start from that, and we'll take others as they come. All right. So, sir, the first question I have here says, please, can you tell us step-by-step guide to follow as someone who wants to become a certified personnel manager? I believe this person is referring to the HR field.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that question is from Asimiyu Afiz. First, like I said, I encourage everyone to get some professional certification. If you're in the practice of HR, my advice to everyone is go and get certification with CIPM, with Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. Now, there are a couple of routes through which you can come in. If you have less than 5 years experience in the practice of HR, it means you have to take the professional exams to come in. It means first you join the institute as a student member, and then you take the exams. Upon passing the exams, of course, you are inducted as an associate member. If you already have about 7 years HR experience already, you can apply directly through what we call the HR practitioner's route, and then you come in as an associate. And that means that you are up to, you have 7 years experience, you are already on grade level 10, assuming for someone to say who works in the public service or its equivalent. Now, if you have as much as 15 years experience and you are either a director, in the public service, by director in the public service, that could be 15, years. You may be an assistant director, you may be a deputy director, you may be a full director, but you already have 15 years experience. Or you have reached, a senior management role if you're working in the private sector. You can then come in through what we call the executive members route. Again, that just takes an assessment. You do not have to write an exam, just like the person who qualifies as, with 7 years too. So these are the routes through which you can join the CIPM and get certification or admission into the institute. Now, the good news now is that we also now have an HR academy, the CIPM HR Academy. And in that academy, we are also now, beginning from 2nd of September, we will now be doing specialist certifications. So if you are in learning and development, you can come and take the 4-month specialist certification course, which enables you to also get certified as an L&D specialist. If you're in C&B, compensation and benefits, you can come and get the specialist certification, which certifies you, as a C&B specialist. It can be performance management, it can be whatever. All of that you can now do. I hope I've tried to answer this question well.
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you so much, sir. And just to add to that, whoever is interested can also visit the CIPM website. The routes to become these are also stated from the examiner to the practitioner route. And maybe this is the point where I mention that I'm also a certified associate of the Chartered Institute of CIPM. Sir, yeah, so we are the same family. I receive your newsletters and your mails all the time. So thank you so much for all you do. I think we have another questioner. Okay, someone raised and so Anibaba, please go ahead. Why?
And thank you for that insightful presentation. I mean, I've been able to learn a lot, and I'm hoping to have access to the timeline you shared as regards personal branding. Now, my question is, when you mentioned always trying to take advantage of international opportunities, and then you also mentioned that one should try to have a side hustle and then try to have good knowledge on global knowledge on things that are happening. Now, I mean, having a side hustle and a career path, it's kind of one is having so many things to deal with, and I want to gain insights from you, how do you think one can manage it, not in order not to get overwhelmed and stay focused, and at the same time when one is trying to also have that global knowledge, trying to have knowledge of one or two things at least globally, it's kind of also overwhelming in the sense that one might come across some kind of knowledge, and then along the line it's kind of hard for one to remember and to always be able to apply it's in life situations, and also in terms of discuss on them. But the person has an idea, but it's not easy for one to gather so many amount of knowledge, and then at the end of the day one gets overwhelmed, and it's kind of as if the person knows nothing about these things. And then at the same time, in terms of staying focused on your career and your side hustle, how is it possible to balance it without getting overwhelmed?
Okay. Thank you very much, Hafso. We definitely will not encourage anyone to bite more than they can chew. But what I'm trying to say is that over time, while growing the career and while focusing on growing your career, you seek knowledge, right? And when you seek knowledge, like you said, you have access to so many things, especially now in the era of social media, and in an era where you have so many things also, so many online learning platforms. But as an individual, you learn to then sieve, S-I-E-V-E, sieve what is relevant to your career growth, what is relevant to your professional journey. You do not just soak in everything. You sieve that. Now, when I said we should have a side gig or side hustle, so many people do have it. Again, you do look at, of course, if you're just growing in your career, yes, you want to focus on your career. You need to do that, and we all did. We all did. I always speak about practical example. Until, I started work when Laziz was reading my resume. I started work as far back as 1985, right? And all I did was concentrate on building my career. I took the relevant degrees that I needed, took an MBA after a first degree in history, went back to the university to read law, qualified as a lawyer. I continued to grow. In my career. I had even served as a commissioner from 1997 to 1999 when we handed over to the civilians. All of that, I did. But one thing that I never let go, for example, was my membership of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. I continued to draw learnings from the institute to hone my HR skills, and from other avenues that I also. But where I'm going to, at some point in my career, I then decided that I'm a lawyer. I remember that I'm a lawyer, that I needed to do something else beyond just practicing HR. And guess what? My wife is a lawyer too. In 2005, 20 years after I started work, we started a law practice of our own, Gobir and Co., which is managed by my wife, and where I then later on, from 2005 up until I joined Dangote in 2018, I was a litigation lawyer. I didn't leave my job with Crita Hope. In fact, I grew to even become managing director. But my employers, at the point at which I then said, look, I want to leave your work so I can go and focus on building my law firm, then said to me, no, we do not think that building your law firm will affect the job that you are doing for us. And we are sure that you can combine the two at the level at which you are in the business. I wanted to resign. My employer said, don't resign. So I spent part of my time. All I did, as GM and as managing director later, I was chief marketing officer for the business. I made sure that at all times, and I was working for a steel manufacturing company, I made sure that at all times the business had so much work to do that all that I needed to do was to make sure that the head of production, the CFO, and the head of sales and marketing, ensured that for every order that we are taking, we are able to service them and deliver to our clients. You know what I did all those years? The court starts sitting at 9 to 12, I'm in court, mostly in Kaduna. And sometimes I have to travel. I was shutting between Kaduna and Abuja. And I took cases from everywhere in the north, Makurdi to Maiduguri. What my employers were interested in is ensuring, of course, that their business did not suffer. And that at the end of the day, when they look at their balance sheet and their P&L, and delivering value, I'm improving shareholders' value, right? And they're getting dividends at the end of the year. Enough, and they'll increase. And I did that consistently for about 13 years until I left. That was my side hustle. But I created so much value for myself. You understand? And I brought in so much value addition that when I said I was going to leave the job, the board and the business said, no, please do not leave. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's not something that you want to do immediately, right? Especially if you are just building a career. But if you have built your career up to that point, and every conversation we have had here is futuristic, because I know that I'm speaking to young adults, not people of my age, right? But when you have built your career to that point where we say you're an auto cruise, there's also nothing that says you can look at doing some other thing. If you have also built your career to that point where you think you can take on some other thing, by all means, please do so. But do not also let it affect your career and your growth in your career. I hope I have attempted, to respond to your question well, Sister Hafsa.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. I think Brother Nordin has his hands up.
Okay, thank you.
No,
Go ahead.
no, Jazakumullah khairan to our father. Yeah, Allah spare you on goodness. I have two questions. My number one question is, as a woman, especially maybe someone that study maybe economics and the likes, how can they navigate this type of, because I believe to be in the industry, you may be working like 9 to 5 and the likes to gain more experience and moving on and building the career. How can they navigate it with their family affairs, or is there any better way? So that is my first question. My second question is that, is it all opportunity someone needs to jump to? Maybe I don't know how to put that question. Maybe okay, this work is paying better, but my growth may be limited. But this one is paying less. I may have growth. Which one is more better to tread the path?
Thank you very much, Brother Nuruddin. I may not have perfect answers to your questions, but I will attempt to answer them well. For our sisters, I will say that as Muslims, and particularly our Muslim sisters, they make a lot of sacrifice. A lot, and I mean a lot. My own wife, for example, sacrificed her career working for another law firm to come and join me to start our own law firm and to manage the home. I've always, even though I'm in HR, when I began to assume senior roles, I became like a traveling salesman, you know. Now, my wife at the time had the opportunity to take a job, say, with the Federal High Court or with the Court of Appeal. But what it would have meant at the time would be that as a lawyer and somebody who works in the Federal High Court or Federal Court of Appeal, it is possible that she could be transferred away from wherever I am. It happened to our colleagues. But she made the decision that, look, I want to raise our family. I know that you are always away from home. And in doing that, she decided that she was going to work for her own law firm. And she stayed back and managed her home. And that's why everywhere I have the opportunity, I tell everyone that Allah has been very kind to me by giving me a wife who is my rock. We have 4 kids. Our oldest is 38. Our youngest is 22.
22.
Right? And, my wife was the one who was always available at the time. All the school runs. Because I had drivers, I had whatever, but she was always there. She was the one who knew when PTAs will happen, who knew when what will happen. Of course, she will draw up a calendar and make sure that okay, for this particular one, we will need you to attend. But when duty calls and I'm not there, she's always there. So, like I said, as Muslim women, our wives make a lot of sacrifices for us. But that does not say they build a career for themselves, or that we should not let them build careers for themselves. For someone who does 9 to 5, like you said, it may be a bit challenging. But doing a 9 to 5 also makes it possible for the wife and that sister
Sophia, please mute. Chiamaka, please also mute. Okay. I think our speaker his network is frozen. So we still can't hear you. Your network seems to be frozen. Okay, I think you're back now.
So
Can you see? Still breaking. Are you talking now, sir? Yes, hi, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, we can.
Network is going off and on.
Okay. I can hear you well.
Okay.
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
the network
I
is
think I
not
lost the
cooperating.
connection for a bit.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
We have them who start. Hello. Am I back now?
Yes, you
Hello.
are. You are, sir. Yes, you are back. I'm not sure any longer.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You seem to be on mute. Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay. You can hear me now.
Yes, we can. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Brother Nuruddin, the point I'm making is, yes, I mean, we have had women build their career, and we should encourage them to build their careers even during the 9 to 5. Now, where they do have the opportunity to do something else beyond 9 to 5 too, legitimate, halal. Again, we also support them, to do it. I know life and living in Lagos is crazy. No one can tell you that better than me. I spent the better part of my life and career working in Kaduna, very far away from Lagos until 2018. If you ask me, Mallam, will you come and work in Lagos? I tell people that, am I crazy? What am I going to look for in Lagos? Right? But Allah has his way of doing things. And then Allah brought me to Lagos in 2018. 28 years after my career started, or 23 years. 33 years, as a matter of fact, after my career started. So never say never, right? Like we always say. Your part, Allah, whatever path Allah has destined for you will take you to wherever He wants you to go. And that's it. So please support them, encourage them. To quickly answer your second question, I always tell people, I know the world is a global village. I know talent have options, like I always say. And I know that workplaces are no longer like they used to be when people like us started work. It was the only reason, and I'll tell you about my career. I started working at Jakarta with the steel company. I spent only 5 years there. That's when I left government work. I just didn't like the idea of pushing files, as a level 8 officer, level 9, up to level 10 officer. I am the one who will do the donkey work, but the file will come from somebody who's on level 17. He will just push it to somebody on level 16, please deal. Level 16 will cross out that man's designation, send it to level 15, please deal. 15 to 14, please deal. Until it gets to me, who was on level 8 or 9, I'm the one who will do the actual delay, do the work. And then I'll send it back up there again from me to the level 9 officer to the level 10, 11, 12, until it gets to 17. I found out I wasn't cut out for that. So I ran out of the public service after 5 years. I went to work in a textile company where I joined as industrial relations manager. And I worked there for 10 years. 10. I'm not sure of how many people stay in one place for 10 years. But that's not it. It was while I was there that I was appointed commissioner in 97. So I went on leave of absence for 2 years, finished my tenure and came back again in 1999. I then resigned from the place in 2000. But the next place where I worked, when I joined as general manager in 2001 in Crystal Hope, I spent 18 years there. 18. 13 years, which I spent in HR and in company secretariat and the legal department, and then 5 years as managing director and CEO. So I spent 18 years. I joined Dangote in 2018. This is my 7th year now in Dangote. Now, not many of our young colleagues, professionals these days, can stay that long in any business. Maybe the reason some of us stayed back then too was, well, loyalty, which is something common with baby boomers like me. Then you also had what we call gratuity. So you're looking that at the end of the day, you will get something by the time you leave. Right? All of that no longer exists. What you have now is contributory pension. So the fatter your pay package or compensation, the fatter even your contributory pension is. So people jump around. But I'm also so very quick to warn. That jumping around also then does not show you or portray you as a very serious person. I hire people a lot as someone who is in HR. So I'm always very skeptical about hiring someone who, when I look at the CV or profile, today I see that, this is him working in Guinness. 15 months later, he is in Nigerian breweries. Excuse my using those examples. I'm just talking about businesses. Another 15 months or 12 months later, he has joined Cadbury. 12 months in Cadbury, he's now looking to join us in Dangote. So I'm like, this person does not appear stable to me, career-wise. So some of us are very skeptical about that. So if you have the opportunity to work in a place where your needs are being met, and you believe you have career growth opportunity, by all means, stay there. But if you are in a place that you yourself consider to be toxic, and you know that your career aspirations will not be met there, by all means, leave too. But don't be a career or professional prostitute, as we call them. We know them when we see them. It used to happen a lot in the bank. I'm sure you know the history of people who join the bank. Today is in UBA. Next tomorrow is looking at Fidelity. And why does Fidelity want to hire him? Because he would have told Fidelity that these accounts which I have for Mallam Ahmed Gobir, I'll bring it to you. So he's a manager in Fidelity. In UBA, Fidelity will then offer him assistant general manager. And then he takes the account, Mallam Gobir's account, from UBA to Fidelity. He gets to Fidelity, he spends 1 month, right? And then he reaches out to GTB to say, I have this very fat account that I can bring for you. And then GTB is offering him general manager. And before you can say Jack Robinson, bam, he's gone to GTB. He takes that account with him. And what happens at the end of the day? They burn out easily. He gets to the top so fast, and then there's no headroom for him to go elsewhere. If he's made enough money and can leave, and go and start something on his own, whatever, all well and good. But if he's not and needs to continue in employment, there's no headroom again where to move on to. So they burn out easily, and frustration sets in. We've seen it happen a lot to so many people. So by all means, just try to build your career. Make yourself that person that people actually, want. And only go to places where your career can be enhanced. Don't just jump around because they're offering you more money. Because more money does not actually translate to career growth. I don't know if I've answered you very well, Brother Nuruddin.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much, sir. And I had a question too, and it's burning out of your response now.
Okay.
In today's world, this employment world, the power seems to be with the employees these days, like they say, especially because of the global workforce change and all of that. So, but in order to be, in your words, a career prostitute, when do you determine when to leave? So I'll give an example. I work in the Big Four, and then I have a mentee that works in the Big Four. I moved around a lot among the Big Four. So this year is in PwC. EY offered him a level higher. He jumped at EY, and then after 2 years at EY, Deloitte offered him a level higher than he was, and then he jumped at. And then before you know, in space of 10 years, he has not even 10 years, space of 5 years, he has taught the Big Four, and he has made him grow quickly. So he has made manager much more faster than his peers who joined, just in PwC's example, you joined PwC together. So, and then it looks like this guy did it, and then he has gotten with it. Now he's seniors, he's moved well, and he's grown in the business. So when do you really say this is the time to move? Or is there anything wrong with you being a one club ranger, be a Steven Gerrard that played all his career in Liverpool, that you have stayed in one firm? Because we've looked at your profile, there have been comments in the background on the Grammar WhatsApp platform that you're endowed experience, you've worked here, you've done public service, you've done private service, and all of that. So how do you balance the two? I want to stay somewhere, go the career, and then get up to the ladder. I want to move around quickly and then get as much money as I can get. To this Gen Zs, that occupy the largest portion in the workspace now, and they don't have that patience. Once you cannot offer them what they want to get, they've moved on. So how do you really balance it?
Okay, thank you very much. Again, like I said, career goals again are different, and then Allah has created us differently. Some of us are satisfied with just being able to meet our basic needs, right? Some want a lot more. Brother Taiwo, maybe I started off as someone who was just content with being able to meet my needs. When I started work without a family, before I started in family, of course, being able to pay my bills, put food on the table, right? Support my siblings who are then going to school. And I came from a family where there were 15 of us. I was the second. I had an older brother who passed away some 12 years ago. So when I say support, and my brother my dad had 2 wives. My dad died way back in 1980. I was just 17 years old. I was just in my first year in the university then. So I learned in time to become a man when my peers were still boys, because I knew I had responsibilities. From my mom, there were 7 of us, so I have 6 siblings. And then there were 8 from my stepmom. But guess what? I lived in places where my siblings, all came to school. Quite a number came to school around there. So it didn't matter whether they were from my mom or from my stepmom. I had to support all of them. So I knew I had responsibility. And because I had responsibility, I had to also be very stable, right? With work. And while doing this, I was also thinking about building my own career. I lived in Zaria and Kaduna for 28 years, if you add the number of years together, right? 28 years. For the simple reason that my siblings were going to school. Most of them went to ABU or to the University of Usman Danfodio University in Sokoto, right? Or to BUK. That's where they all went to. I took all of my degrees from ABU. It was easy for me to do my MBA in ABU. Driving from Kaduna to Zaria wasn't a challenge. It was just a 35-45 minutes drive, right? If I set out from Kaduna to go to Zaria and you leave Ikeja, you want to come to the island. If there's hold up on the island, I will have reached Zaria before you even get onto Third Mainland Bridge. I took an MBA. After taking the MBA, I had the opportunity where I used to work. For the simple reason, I like to share. If you're an HR practitioner or a lawyer and you are not a good storyteller, then you're in the wrong profession. So I like to tell stories a lot. It turned out that where I was working, somebody came in as my MD in 1992, sorry. Right? And he was a lawyer. He had been a company secretary and legal advisor in a bank, and then he came and joined us as MD in textile. And he wasn't particularly pleased with the person who was working as company secretary there. When minutes are written, I will see my MD use green biro. He will rewrite the minutes from the company secretary. So one day he woke up and we had, beside the board, we had 2 management committees. One was called the SMC, the Senior Management Committee, and then there was a General Management Committee, GMC. I was just a senior manager at the time. And then he woke up and said, from that day, I was going to be secretary to the General Management Committee. And later, the Senior Management Committee. I didn't know he was preparing me for the role of company secretary. And Later on, he was later to tell me that, look, I just picked interest in you because when I see memos coming from HR, which I knew was written by you, I get impressed. I'm always very impressed. So I knew that you will make a very good, company secretary. But he first made me secretary to the General Management Committee. When he found out I was doing well after 5-6 months, he told them I was not a member of the ESCO. He then made me management secretary to their committee. So when I saw where he was going to, that was when I decided to go back to ABU to read law. Because I wanted to be qualified for whatever I was. I could have been appointed. In fact, eventually I was appointed company secretary even before I finished my law degree. Because the textile was a private limited liability company. And if you go to Kama says you can appoint someone who is not a lawyer or a chartered accountant as company secretary. He may just not be legal advisor because he doesn't have a degree in law. But you can appoint him as company secretary in a private company. Just like you can also appoint someone who has been acting in the role for a while and has acquired experience as company secretary. That was what the man used to appoint me eventually as company secretary because he moved that company secretary out and made him head of commercial. He said he would be better at selling, textiles. It did cause a lot of rumpus, but the man said, look, I am MD. I am asking for value. And I know what I want. I do not have the time to be rewriting minutes written by a company secretary. So when I was appointed company, I went to ABU in 1992 and enrolled for law. And that's why I read law. And he gave me time. He will give me time. Right? Okay, you can run to Zaria and go and take your lectures. I'll go and take lectures. Come back. I couldn't go every day. But I believe at that time and at that age, I was good enough to be able to take notes from my colleagues to read them and understand what was taught on the Tuesdays and Thursdays that I do. But I was going for lectures every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday. And when I have the time, I will go and join part-timers over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday to attend their lectures. That's how I became a lawyer. That's me building my career because I wanted to be qualified for that position. I didn't want anyone to say, they appointed him company secretary, he's not even a lawyer. So when I finished law, I was then confirmed as company secretary and legal advisor. That's me focusing on my career. At this time, I was telling you, I had 4 of my 6 siblings in the university. My wife was doing a master's degree in law. My children, my first 2 children have become of school age. So I was paying school fees for 7 people. 7 that were directly mine. Not my cousins, not my whatever, that I also had to support, or my half siblings. But I was doing all that even within the confines of what I was earning in the textile. So that was me focusing on building myself professionally and also my career. Now, the world has changed from then till now. And that's what I said, especially here in Lagos. There are so many opportunities. People can move around. But beyond that is, like I said, and which you also reiterated, Brother Taiwo, is that talents have options. So because talents have options, talent can migrate, right? Anywhere too. So if you have the opportunity, what you people do in the Big Four is just like what happens in the banks too. In fact, it was out of modesty because you were here and I know you work in KPMG. That's why I didn't make the example of. That's why I didn't make the example of the Big Four.
Yes, sir.
Because that's what people do. I know so many of your people too who, move around. Today is in KPMG. Next year, before you say Jack Robinson is in PwC. The next time, EY is a partner in EY already. So that happens. But again, it's all career, career aspiration, career growth. What may be good for the geese